What's good, Bolt fam? Booga Peters here. Welcome to another edition of Bolt Blitz Uncut. We've got a special one here. Trade deadline has come and gone. General Manager Joe Ortiz, he did make a couple moves late. And when we say right at the deadline, it was truly right at the deadline. Let me just tell you, it's a special show because all these shows are special. But tonight we're joined by Taylor of the Electric Edge podcast. Taylor, thank you so much for joining us. We talked a little bit pre-show about the addition of Trevor Penning and then the shipping off, obviously, of former Charger cornerback and special teams gunner Jasir Taylor. Let's start with Penning. You did a little bit of work on X. Your thoughts on that initially, and where do you think this team moves forward as far as plugging him in?
Yeah, I mean, I said to you, beggars can't be choosers, right? This Chargers offensive line has been a mess since, I would say, July, since Slater went down. We thought we could weather the storm with Alt and plug and play, but there's some glaring holes. And, you know, Ortiz went out last minute, got a former first-round pick who was looked at by Telesco in the 22 draft. We didn't go with him. But it gives the Chargers some flexibility on the offensive line. They got someone who could play tackle. They got someone who played guard. I think this year he took all of his snaps at left guard. So, you know, and as far as you want to go into PFF grades, he's graded higher than 3/4 of the line at this point, right? So, you know, you knew going into the trade deadline, there's not going to be some all-pro tackle available or some all-pro guard. You got to go with what you got. And, you know, we got rid of a 6th round pick in 27 for him.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think that's a bad trade at all, especially with the past 2 drafts. You look at what Ortiz has done. Those later round picks, probably past the 5th round, have never really panned out. You look at someone like Cornelius Johnson or Brendan Rice taken in the 7th, and then Bridges this year. He was released and he's with the Cowboys now. So I think the line improves. Now, if we're going to talk about improvement, it moves the needle slightly, but it's better than what we have. And we'll see where he fits in on this offensive line during this week in practice.
Well, and listen, this is as Jim Harbaugh himself and Ortiz had reiterated constantly. This is an O-line centric building. This is that place. Competitors welcome. Mm-hmm. They snuck some stuff in at the end. As Taylor mentioned, there clearly was not a lot of cap room. They got down to around, I think it was 2.48, 2.49, I think was the last number we saw prior to the Penning signing, and then getting rid of Jasir Taylor. But you can't, beggars can't be choosers. I like the pedigree of a guy like this because he was an aggressive guy who was drafted in the 1st round. Though I'm not somebody who likes to pick up other teams' 1st round mistakes. The times are desperate. Herbert's running for his life. The fan base is literally starting to resort to saying, put Trey Lance in just to protect 10. Can we not do, I mean, can we be better than that? Yeah. And I understand like there's some levity involved in the folks that are saying that kind of shit.
Yep.
But for me, I believe there's a little bit more truth to those. Once you type it out, you've already thought it, and then you hit that send. There are so many people, including the house DJ at SoFi, who's multiple times talked about, well, Trey Lance should go in. Like, listen, 10 gives the team the best chance to win. What are you telling to these vets at the end of their careers or who are possibly in their final year? Like, hey, listen, we're just going to ride this one out. We're going to put Trey Lance in, and Herbert's going to chill out and make $52.5 million a year. That's obviously not realistic.
And the other thing is, all right, you have all these glaring holes on the offensive line, which I've been a big advocate of. This should have been addressed in the offseason. I didn't think the Becton signing was enough, and it turns out he's played, I think, 3 total games since he's been here. But, you know, the team's still 6-3. So let's all calm down, right? Herbert gives us the best chance to win. He has won with bad offensive lines. And let's see what can happen with adding in a player of Penning's prior caliber, right? Always a change of scenery could do a guy some good. And let's see how this goes. Someone put on X, I think, that he can be the Tier Tart of the offensive side of the ball, which I liked.
You know, my favorite thing so far that Taylor's done? She did the word 6-3 defense, and I didn't have to for you. Smile!
Come on, man. Listen, it's a weird 6-3. So I do this. I do this thing. I do this thing with my kids. 5-4 sounds so much worse than 6-3.
100%.
But I cannot ignore this roster. I cannot ignore what they allowed to bring into this season. And it's not that I'm picking on them for the O-line centric building and the competitors welcome, because it's easy to do that shit. But Harbaugh and Ortiz, they looked everybody in the face and said, Justin Herbert deserves better.
Mm-hmm.
And then they said, and, we are going to run Zion at center. Adorable.
I always go back to the interview that Ortiz had, and Daniel Poppers asked some questions. And he's like, 11-6 sounds pretty good, Pop. And the Charger fans, I mean, we all watched Herbert get destroyed in that Houston game. The interior offensive line just fell apart. And do you want to run it back? I mean, you played a weak schedule last year, and you still ran out with the same individuals. I get it. You thought you're going to have Alt and Slater. Things happen, but I just thought there wasn't enough depth in the offseason. And
let me
that's
interject
my biggest
right there. No. And that's exactly it, though. It's so, okay, cool. You cannot plan to lose 2 all-pro tackles because most offensive lines just don't have them. But what you can do behind even the problems with the interior starting offensive line, you can provide depth that's different. Trey Pipkins is back. Jamari Sawyer is back. I mean, it's the same victims, if you will, as far as the ones that are allowing our guy 10 to get murdered back there. We in the Bolt Blitz group chat, it was everybody for the last 2 drafts. Everything was interior related, and then up front defensively interior related, and a little pass rush, and then some other shit, of course. But it's a weird position for me as a Chargers fan to watch. Even coming into the first season under Harbaugh and Ortiz, and then especially the second year, to see that everybody kind of being in agreement that what are we doing with the Zion Johnson and especially the Bradley Bozeman thing. It was a weird day in March when they announced that Bozeman was going to come back on a 2-year deal. What were your initial thoughts?
I thought, all right, maybe he's going to be a backup.
Yeah.
Some other grand plan. I did not want him back. I have advocated on my show, he's ranked 34th out of 34 centers, and there's 32 starting centers in the league, according to PFF, right? I'm under the belief you got to try something different. And I've heard, well, if Andre James was better, he would start. Okay, I get that, but you have the worst ranked center in the NFL, and you saw what happened last year in the interior where Herbert would get blown up in the middle of the field. So I hated it. I thought maybe this is going to be a backup, and then they're trying Zion in training camp at center, and then
that was
Slater,
a puppet show. That was bullshit. Come on.
And then Slater went down, and then that all went out the window.
Well, and then you watch what happens, and it's funny because I gave Harbaugh a bunch of shit during that press conference where he was talking about, I think offensive linemen are a weapon.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, when Joe Alt's in the lineup, he's a weapon because it's a completely different team altogether when you have a guy of his caliber trying to keep 10 clean. They can't plan for the loss of the tackles, but they could have found the depth or different depth behind that to help maybe, I don't know, supplement an actual Greg Roman offense. And I know 80 is kind of chiming in as often as he can here, or at least listening in the comment section. It'll eventually turn to a conversation where we start to put Joe Ortiz under a microscope of is he drafting the players that fit what is a a Greg Roman offense. These tight ends, hey, Gadsden, love it. Nobody now can argue he's a phenomenal wide slot. He's just not a blocker.
Yep.
How do you get him on the field and running downs? You really can't right now. So you still have the need for that type of a blocking tight end. Losing Jasir Taylor, again, you already talked about it. We're not overly concerned about that. But there was one more move. Long snapper Rick Lovato, Super Bowl champion with the Eagles, he decided to up and quit. He has now retired, and kudos to him. He did have a great career, won 2 Super Bowls actually with the Eagles. But Josh Harris, chest injury, has yet to be healthy this entire year, though he has been kind of spotted around Chargers practice. We're expecting them to at least work somebody out for the opportunity to compete, or in case Harris isn't healthy, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, I think they actually, I saw something about a long snapper as I was scrolling viciously through X before. So they may have signed someone to the practice squad, but we got to double check that. But yeah,
It was
I mean,
it was a Peter Bowden.
yeah, I think so. That's
80's all over that kind of stuff, but I didn't know that he was actually a long snapper. I didn't even see the position. I do know that he's a San Diego kid, because 80 was kind enough to share that in the group chat, and 80 is very rarely wrong, unless it's when he disagrees with me. Hey guys, this is Bolt Blitz Uncut. We've got Taylor from the Electric Edge podcast. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Nice to see Terry Tucker here again. Appreciate you. Jessica, the reporter for Bolt Blitz Uncut. We'll get her role further established as we figure out what we're doing with this show moving forward. Big game coming up, Taylor, obviously, against the Steelers in prime time.
Yep.
I'm sure you've seen it. The PFF, I'm sure it's a PFF.
It's bad.
Grade blocking of the defensive line against the Chargers offensive line. Have you already started praying for Justin Herbert? And if so, do you have anything that you can add to my prayers?
I have, but the Steelers defense this year has been hot and cold, right? I mean, we saw them get blown up against the Packers, right? Granted, different offensive line and different offensive scheme, but they figured out Indy last week. So I don't know what Steelers defense is going to come into SoFi. I'm hoping they're really tired from flying from Pittsburgh to LA. They got some jet lag. But I'm hoping that Greg Roman goes back to very similar to the Miami game. And I talked about this in my last episode with the Titans recap, where everything was just quick, right? Quick throws, get the ball out quick, having, the extra tight ends in to help block. It got to be something similar with the Steelers pass rush, or else Herbert is going to get lit up Sunday night. But I'm hoping. I haven't seen anything on Bobby Hart's injury yet either. I don't know if he's going to be able to play on Sunday. I haven't read anything.
He's played surprisingly well.
Yeah. He took Pipkin's spot.
Well, and Pipkins was not healthy, scratchy, kind of was just chilling in the background.
Hanging out.
What I love is that you brought up the fact that expect Tucker Fisk to play a lot. Expect to see Matlock out there, not necessarily just as your F or your fullback, but expect him to be in there as some type of additional tight end or another Y. Expect 12, expect 13 personnel. When you hear 12, that's one running back and then obviously 2 tight ends. Think of it this way, as I explain to my children when they ask about football, or any kids that I'm trying to help with football. Think of R is running back and then T is tight end. R comes before T in the alphabet. So when you hear the personnel, running back is the first number, tight end is the second. And when you just hear that it's something crazy, just have fun and be prepared for, oh my goodness, we've got y'all, come on. So producer Kyle knows that I haven't updated my glasses prescription in 2.5 years. My optometrist was like, you're going to need bifocals in a year. And now I'm being asked to read this or look at it. There's absolutely no chance I can do anything with that.
The long and the short is, for all the facts of Penning not being all that exciting and choosy beggars and all this stuff. Listen, I'm not here telling you this is steak, but as beef goes, it's not ground chuck either. Okay, these numbers aren't exactly terrible overall. By the way, run blocking grades, you need more run blocking to get something off the ground with what's happening to the running court as well. Apparently, maybe you Charger Bolt bureaucrats have forgotten that there's some injuries back there as well, he said jokingly, of course. Hey, what do I know? I'm a Niners fan. But all of the above to say, I think the key thing that we're not taking away is it's still an upgrade, despite the fact it was just these slim pickings in question. And I know it seems odd to give credit to this front office for pulling that off in this desperate time and measure. Granted, I'm kind of saying that they're putting out the fire at the orphanage, which they started by leaving the burner on too long.
Hey, there we go.
But nonetheless, here this could have gone a lot worse. They could have done nothing. Just throwing that out there.
Taylor, I mean, you saw what 80 I'm sure you, at least, I don't know if you liked it or responded to it at all, but 80 had kind of commented he expected there to be nothing via your X account or whatever on X.
Yeah.
It was at the deadline. It was literally a last second thing.
It was like 12:59 PST, because I was checking and all of a sudden my phone went off that the Chargers executed a trade. I'm like, wait till the last minute.
Better be an O-lineman.
Yeah, exactly.
So listen, we've talked about the flexibility. We've talked about the fact that the Chargers are going to be without Alt and Slater. for the entirety of this season, regardless of what happens moving forward. This show's been pretty forward about how we feel about the offensive line coach and Mike Devlin and the way that he takes these top 10, top 5 rushing attacks and he reduces them down to much worse than he took over. He cannot help that. Oh, I don't know. Your first round pick's out. He happens to be a running back. Najee Harris, who was probably the highlight of the offseason free agent acquisitions.
Yeah.
He's out. That being said, as I just tried to trick everybody thinking I'm a poo-poo on this shit, Kamani Vidal, he's been a true positive spotlight for this offense. Obviously, he struggled a little bit last week.
Yep.
But he's done some things that I think a lot of fans should be excited about moving forward and maybe even earned a spot on this roster in years following this season. Your thoughts on Vidal moving forward, and does he have a shot to really take a hold of making an impact on this offense in years prior? Moving forward, God damn it.
I mean, I like Vidal. The one thing I would say about him is I'd like more consistency week to week. Now, granted, a lot of this is around the offensive line.
Yeah.
So I get that. But I think he could be a viable RB2 option once Hampton comes back. And it says a lot considering the Chargers didn't go after any running backs at the deadline either. So that speaks volumes as to what they think of Vidal and even Patterson. I thought Patterson ran really well on Sunday for the snaps he got.
He's a weirdly hard runner that has
Yeah.
just stuck around, and it's funny because as soon as you think he's gone for good, he kind of sneaks back onto the practice squad one way or another, and he does a little bit special teams wise as well. And I'm glad you brought up how hard he ran because I'm not sure that that's something that was a highlight of what he provided early on. So we'll see what happens with that with him moving forward. I'm not overly confident in the running game overall, unless you include number 10, Taylor. That guy, he's pretty damn good at this whole thing called football. I feel like, and we touched on it a little bit earlier in the show, I feel like as long as he's healthy-ish, I really mean ish, by the way.
Yeah.
It's not just healthy. The Chargers always have a chance to win, no matter where they're downgraded or being downplayed or they're just not matching up with the other team as well as they should be. I think as long as 10 is healthy, they have a shot. I truly believe that kind of is the precipice of which I'm building a foundation for. I think the Chargers beat the Steelers in prime time. Is there anything you could say to help support me in that regard, or am I all alone on this island?
No, I actually do think they have a shot at beating the Steelers. Like I said, I think the Steelers are this weird, like hot and cold team. Like some weeks they look phenomenal. They figured out Indy when we couldn't. And then you have games against, like they had 2 weeks ago against the Packers, where it just wasn't coming together. So, I mean, I'll be at that game, so I want to see a win.
Hey.
I'd love to see a win in prime time against another AFC team, right? Well, I think they'll be 5-1 or 6-1 in the AFC.
Doing great against the AFC, and especially obviously still for now in the division. It's weird because I've seen so many people post, and I know you have as well, that 3-0 start in the AFC West. It seems like a decade and a half ago. It sure seems. So, but that being said, it still happened. Yeah. And I think we try to be, at least. We're one of the shows that, as much as it seems as though we're as realistic as any of the shows out there, we also do like to be a little bit positive in that did happen. The fact that they're 3-0 in the AFC West is obviously going to matter when it comes down the stretch, especially considering depending on how they respond to the teams in this division. There were a lot of moves all over the league trade wise. The Chargers, obviously they pick up Penning, they trade away Jasir Taylor. Was there any other trade that you saw out there that you were like, oh man, that wouldn't have sucked if we could have figured something like that out? Or did you just kind of expect this to be what it was?
I pretty much expected that the Chargers weren't going to make any big flashy moves. We know Ortiz doesn't like to trade any caliber picks. So I was happy that they at least got an offensive lineman who has some flexibility. The Jasir Taylor one just surprised me out of nowhere because I guess the Jets need some type of depth at corner since Sauce is in Indy. But That was an interesting one, but I didn't expect there to be any flashy moves. You know, everyone talked about Brees Hall going to the Chargers, but the Jets were asking for a 3rd round pick. I saw something that the Chiefs offered, I think, a 4th round pick to the Jets, and the Jets would not budge off that 3rd round pick.
Well, I don't know what the speculation was. I know that I had heard a little rumor that the Chargers had actually inquired regarding to what it would take to get Brees Hall in a trade, but the fact that he didn't end up a Kansas City Chief is all that matters to me. And I know that sounds goofy. Listen, and I loved, and I mean really loved Isaiah Pacheco when he came out, and I think that he might have actually interviewed him at a Super Bowl or something like that. But Kyle, I know you got something to say. Hit me
on that Chiefs point, Booga, because how many times lately have they gotten that late in the season pick? There's at least 1 or 2 games where they make an impact either in the postseason or as part of a run to the season. Go ahead, man, say it.
Look at Howie Roseman. Look at what the Eagles did. I mean, they did not play Jalen Phillips. And it's not by accident. They had the room to be able to do that. That's the Eagles. They always do that. Like it's intentional. It's very intentional. It's nice to see a team set themselves up to be able to do that. It's not like the Eagles are struggling. Right. The Eagles are the Eagles right now. And, oh, by the way, they just made a shitload of moves. And I know everyone's like, Jalen Phillips, he's struggling in Miami. Man, let me see what he can do in Philly. Oh,
especially when you have surrounding casts. Like, I don't know, Becton.
Listen,
I wanted somebody else to say it for once, Booga. I'm sorry. Okay, my bad.
We'll get to the Becton thing. I can't wait to talk about him because it gives me an opportunity to glaze 80 a little bit because he gets his feelings hurt almost as much as I do. But I look at a team like the Eagles and a GM like Howie Roseman, and sure, of course, I'm jealous. But I remember, and some of y'all aren't old enough to remember, but I remember when the Eagles did this thing with Vince Young and they signed every free agent they could find, and it didn't translate to shit.
The dream team, right?
You know exactly what I'm talking about. But now they're strategic in how they set themselves up to be able to do things to enhance the holes that they might eventually find out could happen. The Chargers didn't, obviously, in my mind, and probably not Taylor's or anybody else that's actually paid attention to the Chargers. They may not have done that regarding the offensive line. Moving forward, let's just flash forward for fun, Taylor. And I don't have to be for this at all.
Cool.
How many let's say the Chargers just have 6 picks next year in the draft at all total? How many should be offensive linemen?
At least 2.
I mean, come on.
At least 2.
Like really, like with a hope at least 1 to start and 1 to swing tackle. I mean, like a real swing tackle.
I think first round they're going to go offensive lineman. I don't see any way around it. I talked to my husband about this. He's like, I think the Chargers will go either defensive line or offensive line, but I'm really leaning towards offensive lineman in the first round.
Did you see James? He's like, it's got to be 3.
I'm for it. The more the merrier.
Yeah, you tell your hubby we agree with you, and if he doesn't agree, he's wrong. I'm telling you right now, it's got to be, and it for me, it can't be. And I'm not talking about a Joe Alt switching from left tackle to right tackle. He's special. He's different. I would hope that it's not going to be some project type of hey, what's up, Richie? It can't. Let's not experiment. Can we get? There's no such thing as a sure thing in the NFL draft. But your thoughts on maybe being less experimental and the Chargers trying to find a way to, I don't know, nuzzle into a spot where they can really find that player that can start week 1 as a rookie.
1,000,000%. I mean, I always thought that year 3 was going to be the real year of Harbaugh, that they were going to make a deep run. So, I think they're ahead of schedule, but I thought the team coming into training camp, I thought maybe this team could do it. And then you start out 3-0 and you're like, yes, we're going. And, hiccups happen and injuries happen and all the above. But I think you have to find someone who is at that, and I'll use this Joe Alt level where you can plug and play him. You're not going to find someone who could play both sides of tackle, but in that interior, you got to find someone who's ready to start day 1 for the Chargers in the first round.
If you had to pick, would it be a center?
I love a center. I love, like, if you can find a Nick Mangold.
I know it's hard to do. I know it's so hard to do in the first round, but I do at this point, and I'm going to put you on the spot here, and I'm sure you want to talk about it on your show, so I don't want to blow you up too much. but the Chargers obviously need to figure out something at the center position moving forward. Bradley Bozeman, is he the starter at center in 2026?
I think Chargers fans may lose it. They may lose their mind.
I will outwardly, openly.
See, you did that. You did that for that response. But let me throw this in here too, guys. Which, by the way, let me show you the credentials, Taylor. That is an Aaron Evans original of me from my semi-pro football days. So I appreciate the love for the trenches that's taking place here for the rebuild. But I would be remiss if I didn't remind everybody in the room that Khalil Mack is precisely 567 years old, has a number on his contract, and the rest of the defense needs work too. Mm-hmm. I like when Hugo came in off the top rope and said, hey, the other half of the picks should be on defense.
Yeah. Go ahead, Taylor, take it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think on both sides of the line, that has to be the number one priority going into the draft next year. To your point, Khalil Mack's old. I think they may re-sign Owe. I like Owe. I thought it was one of those rare trades that both sides won, right? They both needed help in different areas and both sides won. So let's hope that they re-sign him. Tooley's coming into his own. He's having a great year, but I agree. Either first round or second round. I mean, first round, I'd love to go offensive lineman, but if it's on either side of the ball on the lines, I'll take it.
Yeah. So it's not just, what's funny to me is, sure, yeah. So the Chargers have the reliability, if you will, of Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt at the tackle spots. But it really does need to be the trenches. We love what T.R. Tart's doing, but he needs a little help. Would have been nice to see the Chargers push for Tavondre Sweat. That was one I was kind of hoping for. I had two choices for today. I wanted Trevor Penning and I wanted Tavondre Sweat. I got half of what I wanted. Listen, the Chargers have been a team that, for as long as I've watched them, they haven't had a lot of real bad, nasty guys. And you're like, what about Harrison? What about Jaleel Adai? I just mean some guys that maybe some GMs would not want on their team. And you're like, I don't know about that. Yeah, they can't all be choir boys like me. Although we sing like birds, we don't all block as well. We're not quite as nasty. Having a Penning-like player on an offense that Greg Roman is in charge of, I think benefits them as long as he can stay healthy and keep himself out of trouble when it comes to off the field, which I don't think has been a problem for a long time. But if he gets a little sassy on the field, I think the Chargers need a little bit of that, as long as it's not Joey Bosa status on his way out, because that mattered in the playoff game. I'm not going to be scared away by a player like Penning. He's not a world beater, but I think it's something that the Chargers needed to do. And there's an emphasis that he brings that I don't think that they have on that offensive line, whether Alt or Slater are healthy, by the way.
Yeah.
80 is chiming in right now. 2 of the first 3 picks. Oops, it blacked out for me. Hold on. 2 of the first 3 picks need to be linemen, either side of the line. Love it. So I would be fine if it was 3. And I did, and I'm guilty as charged, so to speak. I did start doing some mock drafts. And it's not because I think the Chargers are going to have the worst season ever. It's just 10 can only do so much. And they set the table for this. Harbaugh, Ortiz, they were comfortable with Bozeman coming back. So comfortable that they signed him to a 2-year deal. They did the little flirting puppet show with Zion at center, and here we are. We're not going to do a record prediction because I got to get you back before I put you on the spot like that, Taylor. Tell everybody where they can find everything that you're doing. Thank you so much for joining us. But Taylor's doing some great things. Shout out to your husband for allowing you to be here with us, because I know that it's hard to get time away. My kids, I'm telling you right now, are pissed because we're not upstairs playing Mario Kart World. But on Tuesdays, this is what we do.
World. I know
you're Switch too, baby. You thought they were going to let me keep the old Switch, man? Not those kids.
Fair. I do have to lean into this while you both are still here, because I've gone on other shows guesting, as I'm about to do on the Electric Heads podcast, representing the Duval Dive coming up soon. So there's that.
Oh, you sneaky shit.
But it's called talent, Booga. But the punchline is going on other shows, talking to our good friend Booga, Ernest Christian.
You're right. It is. You're welcome for providing you the talent. She's really good.
Exactly. No, but the fact I go on other shows and do other things, and people are not taking Justin Herbert seriously as an MVP candidate. Again, I'm a Niners fan. What do I know? But it ticks me off. Like, this is ridiculous. How many O linemen are we out here when we're having these conversations? You know, how many missing eye jokes have you made at Najee's expense and then Omari's this time as well? What are we talking about? How is he not? Please, just because QJ finally remembered to catch the ball more consistently, now suddenly he's not an MVP candidate. What are we doing here? Is it as big a crime as I'm talking about, or am I just getting really excited again?
You're right, Taylor. Piggyback off me. He's right.
1,000,000%. I mean, I just think Herbert just doesn't get the media love that some of these other quarterbacks do, like the obsession with Lamar Jackson and Mahomes and Allen. And maybe that's because he hasn't won a playoff game, but this team would not have the record it does if he was not a quarterback.
So here's my thing. There's been this weird trend, and anybody who's been paying attention knows this, and I hope we all as Charger shows start to talk about it more often. We see all you media personalities out there that had started this bandwagon thing where, we grow by picking on 10. We go after that LA guy 10. We go after him. He's just not that good. And then we all saw him crawl back. Ryan Clark. Kay Adams. I can keep going. Even Chase Daniels, who was his backup for a minute. I can keep going. There are so many.
Emmanuel Acho.
We call him Acho 33 because he's got 33 tackles to his name and he thinks he's got so much more than everybody else. But anyway, go ahead, Kyle.
You evoked Emmanuel Acho, the guy who doesn't watch the games. Please, as somebody who does a Jaguars podcast and had that talk about Trevor Lawrence, please. And I know it's a sore topic to bring up Trevor Lawrence and playoff games in this show.
No, it's not here. No, we're not afraid of that shit.
Nonetheless, don't bring up a guy that doesn't watch the games in this show, please, Miss Taylor. Thank you very much.
Woo! No, he doesn't watch the games, but apparently Nick Wright doesn't either because he's flip-flopped so much on Herbert just in this season. Dude's got to be so dizzy. Get him some Dramamine. Figure out something to help him get over himself. It's been this new niche thing for these fledgling shows or shows that are maybe struggling or wanting to get further advanced to where they go after 10 because they just expect the Chargers to do what the Chargers have done forever.
Yep.
I'll say this, they're 6-3. It's a horribly ugly 6-3, but God damn it, it feels so much better than 5-4, like we talked about a little bit earlier. Taylor, you're on Bull Blitz Uncut. It's we drink a little bit, we have a little bit of fun. Again, please remind everybody where they can find you. And of course, I'm going to ask you on the spot. Can we have you back? And maybe we'll do some stuff during the bye week, and you can tell us what your grades are regarding General Manager Joe Ortiz.
Yeah, first of all, I'd love to come back on. I will talk Chargers football with anyone. It's been awesome to do. So anytime you'd like to have me back, just send me a message and we'll get it set up. As far as finding me on socials, I'm on X, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Instagram at Electric Edge Pod, and then I am on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, and just search Electric Edge Podcast, and you will find me.
And let me tell you, Taylor's worth finding. It's funny because I kind of slipped away from what everybody. Well, you may not know this, Taylor. I was the guy that did. I'm a part of, I think, the unfortunate leader of the fans who don't go to the games per what social media is saying. I kind of was dying for a while, except for it was my son and I were dying for a while. And then when he got better, it was like, cool. And then I stayed dying. And then, my dad started to die and I took care of him while he was dying. And then, that took up some time. And, I don't know. Then when we were trying to get Bolt Blitz off the ground, my co-host died. So a lot of deaths. So when you hear folks talk about the non-attending fans, I can tell you there are a lot of fans like me that would love to be there every game. They just weren't able to be. Well, there are fans like me who have actually been there back in the day for all those games, covered so many games in the press box, on the field, at the Senior Bowl, whatever. You just, life happens sometimes. Sometimes you and your kid get sick. Sometimes other people get sick, and then a lot of people die. And then you try to bring a show back, and then you find folks like you that highlight you just to make you seem real important. Gosh, have I put you on the spot enough or what?
And that's all good. I love it. Just to caveat that I don't live in the LA area, so I travel to home games. And I try to go every Sunday. I've been a ticket holder for a couple of years now because I'm originally from the East Coast, and that's a whole other story we could talk about, maybe the bye week of how I became a Chargers fan back in the day. But it's if you can get out to a game, let me know. We'll hook up. We'll meet each other in person. But it's going to be electric once again on Sunday night against the Steelers.
And Taylor's going to be there, as will, of course, our Chargers reporter here at Bolt Blitz Uncut, Jessica Thompson. I don't even know how many games in a row it is, and I say this every show because I lose track, and the only thing I don't lose track of is how many beers I have next to me. But I've also seen we've done about 35 minutes with you. I didn't know how long we'd keep you. It was just because I didn't know how long we'd be able to bother you for. It's been a pleasure having you here. When you guys check out Taylor's show, I just need you to know it's a little more stat based, and she's very, very honed in on the actual data and the numbers. We're a little more loose and a little more having a little crazy time. If you're looking for those numbers, I'm telling you right now, Taylor really has it. But she also has shown tonight that she can cut loose and have some fun with some rowdy folks like myself and producer extraordinaire Kyle. Well, Taylor, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you.
Yeah, there's a reason, Taylor. Well, the guy that does data for a living is the producer, not hosting the show here.
Oh, no, if you just follow her for a little bit. If you're not following her, again, it's at Electric Edge Pod, correct?
That's correct, on socials. And then if you just search on YouTube or any of the podcast platforms, it's Electric Edge Podcast.
Thank you so much, Taylor. We'll have you back. Thank you so much.
All right, awesome. Thank you.
We're spoiled, and I know that Taylor's going to be back because she wants to continue to show me up as she did, not just in the pre-show, but during the show. When you have guests like that, you feel proud about the fact that you made the decision to have them on, because when you watch what they do and you really see that they're in the space for the right reason and doing the things that really do not just provide a good laugh every now and then, because she's very funny. But she does a really good job providing the information that I think gives Chargers fans out there a chance to be better fans. What we do here at Bolt Blitz, and we have done since 2010, is we're here.
This past or this present tense, it's been going, and still it's an institution, Booga Peters.
There's been some shit built off this. But we're here to inform, educate, and entertain. Figure out the order on your own. Hopefully we do that in some type of order. But it's just more about it takes a lot for people to be a responsible fan. And there aren't a lot of rules to being a fan. And there are a lot of people out there trying to tell other crazies how to be crazy. We don't necessarily do that here. We just try to better equip you to be able to show up and not sound like a fucking moron. Jessica, we love you to death. Thank you so much for everything you do. We'll refine that role. James Allen, Hugo, Terry Tucker, Brian Cates, who stopped by earlier, everybody who's been in the chat. Oh, 80 Simons, I miss you so much. I just love talking football with you. Matt Lidioff of ML Collectibles. He will show us some more great shit to sell on Mondays on the San Diego Chargers lovers page. I keep telling him to put it on Bolt Blitz Uncut as well, but he hasn't done it. I hope he does it then. I already gave a shout out to Hugo. I think we got everybody. And David Shaw, I can't forget you. Phyllis Williams, I cannot miss you. I just want to say, if I wasn't supporting Jessica Thompson to be fan of the year, it would be gals like Phyllis Williams, Amanda Johnson. It would be Rudy El Cargador. I mean, come on, man. There's so many real Chargers fans of the year out there. I really hope we find a way to get these Chargers fan of the year awards to some folks who deserve it. Ryan Russell. I know he's not as active as he used to be, but I still see him as shit. There are a lot of fans. John Kegley. I know he hasn't been like he used to be, but the Chargers moving to LA hurt his feelings. There are a lot of Chargers fans who maybe deserve a Lifetime Achievement Award. I don't fucking know. But let's make sure that we get this Chargers Fan of the Year award to somebody who really has earned it. I'm Booga Peters. I have to burp. Thank you for listening to Bolt Blitz Uncut. On behalf of producer extraordinaire Kyle Nash,